The first time I realized my wife was cheating wasn't when I saw the text. It was when she looked straight at me, smiled like everything was normal, and slid her phone face down like it was a weapon. Not hiding it. Positioning it. Like she'd been waiting for this moment. And right then, standing in our kitchen with the kettle screaming in the background, I understood something cold and simple. I didn't accidentally find her secret. Her secret had finally decided to find me. She said, "Babe, can you grab my charger from the bedroom?" And the way she said it, soft, casual, felt like bait. I still walked to the bedroom. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You keep acting normal even while your stomach turns into a knot. I opened the drawer where we kept the spare cables. And that's when I saw it. A second phone. Not mine. Not hers. A cheap black Android, no case, no scratches, like it had barely been touched. Like it didn't belong to a person. Like it belonged to a life. I picked it up, and it woke instantly, no password. Just the screen, glowing. A single message thread already open. Like someone had left it that way on purpose. And there it was. "I miss you. I can still taste you." My hands went cold so fast my fingers felt numb. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. I just stared at that sentence until the letters stopped looking real. Then the phone vibrated again. A new message popped up. "Tonight. Same place. Don't bring your ring. If this is your first time here, welcome. This channel tells real, emotional stories about betrayal, loyalty, and relationships that fall apart behind closed doors. If you're returning, thank you for being here again. And if stories like this matter to you, take a moment to subscribe and like, so you don't miss the next one." I heard my wife laugh in the kitchen. A small laugh. Like she'd just seen something funny on TV. And it hit me with a kind of nausea I didn't know a human body could hold. She was 10 feet away from me. Laughing. While another man was texting her like she belonged to him. I walked back into the kitchen holding the phone like it might burn me. She turned toward me, saw it in my hand, and didn't even flinch. No panic. No, "What are you doing?" Just a slow blink, like she was deciding what face to wear. Then she smiled. Not sweet. Not guilty. A calm, practiced smile. And she said, "You found it." Like I'd found a missing sock. Like this was inevitable. Like this was scheduled. My throat felt tight. "What is this, Lena?" She leaned her hip against the counter, arms folded, and tilted her head. "That," she said, "is the part of me you stopped showing up for." I swear to God, the kettle was screaming like an alarm. And all I could think was, how did we get here? How did my marriage turn into a trap I didn't even know I was standing in? I wanted to yell. I wanted to throw something. But what came out was small and cracked. "Are you cheating on me?" Lena looked at me for a long second. Then she said, "Do you want the truth, Ethan, or do you want the version that lets you sleep tonight?" My stomach dropped. Because when someone offers you two versions of reality, that's when you realize they've been lying for a long time. I forced my voice steady. "I want the truth." She nodded once. Then she said it like she was reading a grocery list. "I've been seeing someone." My ears started ringing. "How long?" She paused like she was counting. 8 months. 8 months. That's 200 and something mornings. 200 and something nights. 8 months of me kissing her goodbye, telling her I loved her, making coffee, paying bills, talking about our daughter's college plans, while she had a second phone for someone else. My chest tightened like someone was sitting on it. "Who?" I whispered. Lena's eyes held mine. And she said, "You know him." I felt my blood turn to ice. Because there are only so many men, you know, who can ruin your life with one name. And before I could even guess, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A calendar reminder I didn't set. Dinner, 8 p.m., Oak Room. I stared at the screen like it was a prank. Lena saw it and smiled again. "That's tonight," she said. "How do you?" I added it, she said softly. "Because I'm tired of sneaking." Then she walked past me, close enough that I could smell her perfume. The perfume I bought her for Mother's Day. She opened the pantry, grabbed a wine glass, poured herself something dark and expensive like this was just another weekday. And she said, without looking at me, "If you're going to find out, I'd rather you find out properly." My hand shook. "What does that mean?" Lena finally turned, and her face changed. Not angry. Not sad. Something else. Something sharpened. "You always wanted to be the good guy," she said. "The calm one. The patient one. The one who never breaks." She took a sip. "But I've been breaking for years." I wanted to scream that I never touched her, never cheated, never abandoned her. That I went to every one of our daughter Harper's school events. That I built my life around them. That I wasn't perfect but I was loyal. But my wife wasn't looking at me like a wife looks at a husband. She was looking at me like a witness. Like she'd been building a case. And all she needed now was for me to react. So she could call me what she already decided I was. I swallowed hard. Who is he, Lena? She took another sip. Then she said, quiet and cruel. Ask your best friend. I don't remember walking. I just remember my legs moving. My lungs refusing to fill properly. My mind flipping through names like cards. And landing on one face so clearly it made me sick. No. No, it couldn't be. Not him. Not the man who held my daughter when she was born because my hands were shaking. Not the man who stood beside me at our wedding like a brother. Not the man who sat at my kitchen table every Sunday acting like family. I stared at Lena. You're lying. Lena's expression didn't change. You say that a lot, she said. Even when you know it's true. Then she picked up her phone, her real phone, and tapped the screen. Come home, she said into it. I heard a muffled voice through the speaker. A man's voice. Deep. Familiar. On my way. My knees almost gave out. Because I knew that voice. I'd heard it laugh in my living room. I'd heard it tell my daughter bedtime stories. I'd heard it call me brother. And now it was answering my wife. Lena ended the call. And for the first time, her smile faded. We're done hiding, she said. So let's stop pretending. The doorbell rang. And my whole body went rigid. Lena walked to the door like she was opening it for a guest. For family. For someone who belonged. She opened it. And there he was. Caleb Ward. My best friend of 15 years. He stepped inside, still wearing his work jacket, hair slightly damp from the cold outside. He looked at me. And his face did something strange. It didn't look guilty. It looked tired. Like he'd been carrying this for too long. Ethan, he said quietly. My name sounded wrong coming from his mouth. Like a betrayal in a single syllable. I held up the second phone. My voice came out low. Tell me I'm dreaming. Caleb's eyes flicked to Lena. Then back to me. And he said, I wish you were. The room tilted. It felt like the walls moved closer. I couldn't hear the kettle anymore. All I could hear was my own pulse. I pointed at Lena, then Caleb, then back at Lena like my brain couldn't form a complete sentence. How long? Caleb didn't answer. Lena did. 8 months, she said again. And then, like she was correcting herself. Actually, if we're counting honestly, it started before that. My throat burned. Before that? Caleb's jaw tightened. Lena set her wine down carefully. It started with messages, she said. Then phone calls. Then, the thing you pretend doesn't matter. I stared at her. What thing? Her eyes didn't soften. They listened, she said. They asked how my day was. They didn't look through me. I shook my head violently. I didn't look through you. Lena laughed once, bitter. You looked past me, she said. Like I was just part of your life's furniture. I wanted to argue. To list all the ways I tried. But the truth is, I felt it. That slow drift. That routine. That exhaustion. The way love can turn into logistics if you're not careful. I stepped toward Caleb. Get out. Caleb didn't move. Ethan. Get out. My voice cracked on the second word. Caleb flinched like I'd hit him. Lena stepped between us, suddenly alert. Don't, she warned. That word, don't, coming from her mouth, sounded like authority. Like she was in control. And then something snapped in me. Not rage. Not screaming. Something quieter. A realization. This wasn't a confession. This was an ambush. Because why bring him here? Why make him walk into my home? Why not leave quietly, file papers, disappear? No. This was theater. This was designed to break me. To make me do something stupid. So I took a breath I didn't feel like I deserved. And I asked the question that mattered. Why are you doing this like this? Lena's eyes flickered. Caleb looked away. And that was the first real crack. Because it meant there was something else. Something underneath the affair. Something they didn't want to say out loud. I pointed at the phone. You left it open, I said slowly. No password. Messages on the screen. Lena's lips pressed together. You wanted me to find it. She didn't deny it. She just said, you were never going to hear me otherwise. That line hit me like a slap. But it didn't explain everything. I turned to Caleb. You've been in my house every week, I said, my voice low. Looking me in the eye. Calling me brother. Caleb's face tightened. I didn't plan for it to happen, he said. Lena scoffed. Don't, she said again, this time at him. Don't do the it just happened thing. Caleb's eyes flashed. You want honesty? He snapped. Then he looked at me. And something in his expression made my stomach drop again. Because it wasn't just guilt. It was resentment. And resentment doesn't grow in 8 months. Resentment grows in years. Caleb took a breath. Ethan, he said, you've been living in a story where you're the hero. I felt my eyebrows pull together. What the hell are you talking about? He swallowed. You want the truth? He said. The truth is, Lena didn't come to me first. My heart stuttered. Caleb looked at her. Then back to me. She came to you, he said. And you didn't listen. Lena's nostrils flared. Don't turn this into. Caleb cut her off. No. You wanted it out in the open. He turned to me again. She begged you to go to counseling 2 years ago. Remember? My mouth opened. Then closed. Because I did remember. I remembered her sitting on the edge of our bed, voice small, saying she felt alone even when I was right beside her. And I remembered saying, let's not make a big thing out of it. We're fine. Because I was tired. Because work was heavy. Because our daughter was applying to colleges. Because I thought fine meant stable. I didn't know fine meant dying slowly. Caleb stepped closer. She didn't cheat because she wanted sex, he said. She cheated because she wanted to feel real again. Lena's eyes went glossy, like she hated that he understood her too well. I shook my head, weak. That doesn't make this okay. Caleb nodded. It doesn't. Then he added, quietly. But it also doesn't make you innocent. That word, *innocent*, made my chest tighten. I wasn't perfect. But I was faithful. I hadn't touched another woman in my marriage. I hadn't lied. I hadn't. My mind stopped. Because that wasn't entirely true. Not physically. But there was something. Something I never called cheating because it didn't include a hotel room. Something I buried because it made me feel ashamed. And Lena's eyes fixed on me like she could hear the memory forming. She leaned forward slightly. Tell him, she said to Caleb. Caleb hesitated. Then he said it. Tell him about Marissa. My blood drained from my face. Because I hadn't heard that name spoken in years. Marissa. My first love. The woman I dated before Lena. The woman who sent me a message late one night, 3 years ago. Just a, hey stranger. Just 2 words. And I answered. Because it felt harmless. Because it felt good to be remembered. Because it was just talking. Until it wasn't. I stared at Lena. How do you? She didn't let me finish. I saw it, she said flatly. 3 years ago. My throat went dry. You went through my phone? Lena's laugh was sharp. You're going to make that the issue? I felt heat rising in my chest. It was nothing. Lena's eyes narrowed. Nothing? Her voice lifted slightly, controlled but trembling at the edges. You told her you missed her. My mouth opened. I didn't remember writing those exact words. But I remembered the feeling. The way I typed things I shouldn't have typed because it felt like being wanted again. Lena's voice dropped. You told her you sometimes wondered what your life would have looked like if you'd chosen her instead. The room went silent. Even Caleb looked uncomfortable. And in that silence, the truth settled like dust. I hadn't slept with Marissa. But I had betrayed Lena. I had emotionally stepped outside my marriage and called it harmless because it made me feel less guilty. Lena looked at me with something like disgust. And do you know what hurt the most? She asked. It wasn't the messages. It was the way you smiled at me the next morning like you didn't have a second life in your pocket. Her voice cracked on the last word. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. This affair wasn't just about lust. It was retaliation. It was loneliness turning into rage. And now she wanted me to bleed the way she bled. Caleb exhaled slowly. I didn't know about Marissa at first, he admitted. She told me later. Lena wiped her cheek quickly like she hated that her emotions were visible. And then I met Caleb, she said. And for the first time in years, someone looked at me like I mattered. I swallowed. You could have left. Lena nodded once. I could have. Then she said the sentence that made me feel like I was falling. But I didn't want to just leave. I wanted you to finally see what it feels like. My hand shook. So you did this to punish me? Lena's mouth tightened. I did this because I was tired of suffering quietly, she said. Caleb stepped forward quickly. Lena. But she held up a hand. No. Don't protect me now, she said. This is what it is. Then she looked at me with a calm I didn't recognize. Here's what's going to happen, she said. And in that moment, I realized again. This wasn't a confession. This was a plan. She continued. I'm filing for divorce, she said. Tomorrow. We're selling the house. And Harper stays with me. My chest exploded. What? Lena's eyes didn't blink. She's 18 in a few months, she said. She'll choose. I turned my head, dizzy. Harper doesn't even know. Lena's voice was quiet. She will. Caleb's face tightened. Lena, we agreed. Don't, she snapped again. Caleb shut his mouth. My stomach churned. Agreed? They agreed on something? I stared at them both. What did you agree on? Lena reached into a drawer and pulled out a folder. A thick folder. Tabs. Paperwork. She slid it across the counter like she was sliding a knife. "I've been documenting," she said. "Documenting." My blood went cold. "For what?" Lena's eyes stayed on mine. "For the truth," she said. Then she opened the folder. And I saw screenshots. Not of her phone. Of mine. My texts with Marissa. My late-night replies. A photo I'd sent of myself in a hotel mirror on a business trip. Nothing explicit, but intimate enough to look bad. Then more pages. Bank statements. Receipts. A highlighted line. A transfer I didn't recognize. Lena tapped it. "Do you want to explain that?" she asked softly. I stared. "What is that?" Caleb swallowed. Lena's voice was calm, almost gentle. "That," she said, "is why you're going to lose more than your marriage." My heart pounded. "I don't know what that is." Lena tilted her head. "You don't?" she asked. Then she smiled again. Not cruel. Satisfied. "Then you should probably start asking yourself," she said, "who's really been lying in this house?" My lungs stopped working for a second. Because I suddenly understood something terrifying. Someone had been moving money. And Lena had evidence. And she was looking at me like she already knew who the villain was supposed to be. I backed up a step. "This is insane." Lena's eyes were glossy. "Is it?" she whispered. "Because I've been living insane for years." Caleb's voice was low. "Ethan, you need to look at the transfers." I turned on him. "You shut up." Caleb flinched. And there it was. The reaction they wanted. Anger. A sharp word. A raised voice. Lena's phone lifted slightly. Like she might be recording. I froze. And the room went silent again. Lena's face softened, fake soft. "See," she murmured. "This is why." My stomach twisted. I realized then that I wasn't standing in my kitchen having an argument. I was standing in my kitchen inside a courtroom that hadn't officially opened yet. And Lena was laying out her exhibits. I swallowed hard. "I'm leaving," I said quietly. Lena didn't stop me. She just said, "Please do." And the way she said it felt like the first move in a chess game. I walked out into the cold evening air and sat in my car with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I didn't start the engine. I just sat there, staring at the dark windshield, hearing my wife's words in my skull. Who's really been lying in this house? I thought about Marissa. The messages. The flirtation I convinced myself wasn't betrayal. I thought about Caleb. My best friend. The man I trusted. And then I thought about the money. That transfer. Because I did handle our finances. Not in a secret way. In a normal marriage way. Bills, savings, Harper's college account. So if money was missing, either Lena was framing me, or someone else had access. And there was only one person in my life who knew enough about my accounts to hide something in plain sight. Caleb. My phone buzzed. A text from Lena. "Don't come back tonight. Harper's here. Don't do this to her." My daughter. In the house. With them. My hands tightened. Because now I wasn't just fighting for a marriage. I was fighting for my relationship with my child. And the worst part? Harper had no idea the ground under her life was cracking. I drove. Not to a bar. Not to a friend's. Not to my parents. I drove to the one place I could think clearly. My office. A small rented space above a quiet insurance company downtown. I sat in the dark with a desk lamp on and opened my laptop. I pulled up every account. Every transfer. Every statement. And I started looking. At first, it looked normal. Mortgage. Utilities. Groceries. Harper's tuition deposit. Then I saw it. The transfer Lena highlighted. A wire. $12,500. Sent to something called Ward Consulting LLC. My throat tightened. Ward. Caleb Ward. I stared at it until the letters blurred. Then I scrolled. And found another. $9,800. 2 months earlier. Same account. Same recipient. Then another. $6,000. Smaller amounts spaced out like they wouldn't trigger alarm. The air felt like it disappeared from the room. Caleb, my best friend, had been taking money from my accounts. And Lena knew. And she was holding it like a weapon. I sat back, breathing shallow. A thought crept in, slow and ugly. What if Lena didn't find the affair first? What if she found the money first? What if the affair wasn't the real story? What if the affair was the cover for something bigger? My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I stared at it. Then answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then a woman's voice. Soft. Professional. "Mr. Hale?" she asked. Hale. My last name. "Yes. This is Dr. Soren. I'm calling about your wife, Lena." My stomach dropped. "What about her?" A pause. "I shouldn't be calling you," she said carefully. but I've been asked to provide an assessment in a legal matter, and I felt ethically obligated to tell you something. My throat went dry. Tell me what? The woman exhaled. Your wife has been discussing plans, she said. Plans that involve portraying you as unstable. My chest tightened. What? She mentioned wanting to control the narrative so your daughter wouldn't blame her, Dr. Soren continued. And she mentioned your best friend, Caleb. I squeezed my eyes shut. What about him? The woman hesitated. She said he would help make it believable. I felt sick. I pressed a hand to my forehead. Why are you telling me this? Because, she said quietly, if someone is building a story about you, you need to know before you become the villain in it. The call ended. And I sat there in the dark with a pounding heart, realizing I was no longer just betrayed. I was being written. My wife wasn't only cheating. She was crafting a version of events where I was the monster. And Caleb wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was stealing from me. And if I didn't move carefully, I'd lose Harper. I'd lose my reputation. I'd lose everything. But I also knew something else. If someone is building a narrative, they leave fingerprints. They leave patterns. They leave mistakes. So I did the one thing I never thought I'd have to do in my own marriage. I started collecting my own evidence. I hired an attorney the next morning. Not a family friend. Not someone Lena knew. A quiet bulldog named Nina Patel who didn't smile until she'd already won. She listened while I explained everything. The second phone. Caleb. The money. The folder. The therapist's warning. She didn't gasp. She didn't judge. She simply said, "You're being staged." I swallowed. Staged? Nina nodded. Cheating is messy, she said. But this? She tapped her pen on the desk. This is organized. Then she looked at me. You need to stop thinking like a husband and start thinking like a defendant. That sentence made my skin crawl. But she was right. Because Lena and Caleb had already decided what story they wanted told. Now I had to decide whether I'd let them tell it without me. Nina told me 3 rules. Don't go back to the house alone. Don't argue in person. And don't text anything emotional. Then she said, we're going to do one more thing. She slid a small black device across her desk. Put this in your car, she said. Record every interaction. I stared at it like it was a crime. This is my wife. Nina's voice didn't change. Your wife is building a case, she said. You're building a defense. I left her office feeling like I'd stepped into a different reality. A reality where love didn't protect you. It exposed you. That night, I stayed at a hotel. A cheap one off the highway because I didn't want Lena to accuse me of wasting marital funds. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the air conditioner, thinking about Harper. Thinking about the last time she hugged me. Thinking about her laugh. Thinking about the fact that she was in that house with 2 people who just shattered my life. And I couldn't even knock on the door. My phone buzzed. A text from Caleb. We need to talk. Alone. My stomach turned. I didn't answer. Another text came. Lena doesn't know I'm texting you. I stared at that line until my hands started shaking. I knew what he wanted. He wanted to split Lena and me. He wanted to play both sides. He wanted to control damage. But I also knew something else. If Caleb was reaching out, it meant the plan had cracks. So I responded with 3 words. Tomorrow. Public place. He replied instantly. Oak Room. Noon. The same place. The one from my calendar reminder. The place Lena said was tonight. My skin went cold again. Because it meant this place was their stage. Their ritual. I wasn't walking into a lunch meeting. I was walking into a trap. So I asked Nina what to do. She said, go. And record. And don't react. The next day, I walked into Oak Room with a calm I didn't feel. It was dark inside, upscale, the kind of place where people have secrets over expensive cocktails. Caleb was already there, sitting in a booth, looking like he hadn't slept. He stood when he saw me. Ethan. I didn't sit yet. I just looked at him. The man who called me brother. The man who slept with my wife. The man who stole from my accounts. I slid into the booth slowly. Caleb's hands were clasped so tight his knuckles were white. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I stared at him. You're sorry you got caught, I said. Caleb flinched. No, he said. I'm sorry I became this. I leaned back. Start talking. Caleb swallowed. It wasn't supposed to be like this, he said. There it is, I said quietly. The line everyone uses when they want sympathy. Caleb's eyes flashed. You want the truth? Fine. He leaned forward. Lena came to me first. My jaw tightened. She told me about Marissa, he said. About you texting your ex. My throat tightened, but I didn't interrupt. Caleb continued. She was hurt, he said. And then she got angry. She started talking about? He stopped. I kept my face blank. Talking about what? I asked. Caleb's voice dropped. She started talking about making you pay, he said. My stomach twisted. I forced my tone steady. And you thought cheating with her was the solution? Caleb looked away. I didn't plan it, he whispered. It started emotional. I laughed once, humorless. Emotional cheating, I said. The kind you tell yourself doesn't count until it does. Caleb's eyes flicked up. Exactly, he said quietly. Then he said something that made my blood freeze. She said she wanted Harper, he admitted. Full custody. I sat still. And she said you'd never survive it. I stared. Caleb's throat bobbed. She said you'd break, he whispered. And when you broke, everyone would see what she's been dealing with. My hands clenched under the table. She's setting me up, I said. Caleb nodded slowly. Then he said, voice barely audible. And I helped. My chest burned. Why? Caleb swallowed hard. Because she made me believe you didn't care, he said. And because. He stopped. I waited. Because whatever he was holding back, it was the real reason. Caleb exhaled shakily. Because I needed money, he said. I felt my jaw tighten. There it is, I said. Caleb's eyes filled. My business is failing, he whispered. I've been drowning for a year. And you stole from me, I said flatly. Caleb's face twisted with shame. Yes, he whispered. Then he added, Lena knew. My stomach dropped. She knew you were stealing? I asked. Caleb nodded. She caught it, he said. She threatened me. He swallowed. She said if I didn't do what she wanted, she'd tell you everything. My skin went cold. So you slept with her because she blackmailed you, I said. Caleb's eyes squeezed shut. It started before the blackmail, he admitted. And then she used it. He looked at me, desperate. Ethan, she's not just cheating. She's calculating. I sat very still. Because I could hear Nina's voice in my head. Organized. Staged. A story. Caleb leaned closer. She has more, he said. More files. More screenshots. And she's going to take Harper. I stared. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Caleb's voice broke. Because I can't live with it, he whispered. And because she's not done. My stomach turned. What do you mean she's not done? Caleb's hands shook. She's going to announce it, he said. Tonight. My blood went cold. Announce what? Caleb stared at the table, then whispered. She's pregnant. The air left my lungs. For a second, I couldn't hear anything. The restaurant noise faded. All I could hear was the pounding in my ears. Pregnant, I repeated, like I didn't understand the word. Caleb nodded, eyes glossy. She told me last week, he said. And she said. He stopped, swallowing. She said she's going to tell you at Harper's scholarship dinner. My stomach flipped violently. Harper's scholarship dinner was tonight. A small event at her school. Parents, teachers, a few donors. Lena insisted we both attend. She'd texted me earlier like nothing happened. Harper needs us. Don't ruin her night. It wasn't a request. It was a leash. I stared at Caleb, voice low. Is it yours? Caleb's face twisted. I don't know, he whispered. That answer hit me harder than yes. Because it meant weeks of secrets. Weeks of risk. Weeks of my wife letting another man inside her life in ways that destroy people. And she was going to tell me in public. At our daughter's night. In front of an audience. The same way she staged the phone. The same way she staged the kitchen. Because she didn't just want to hurt me. She wanted witnesses. I stood up so fast the booth shook. Caleb reached out. Ethan. I pulled away. Stay away from my family, I said. Caleb's face crumpled. I'm trying to help you, he whispered. I leaned down, voice shaking with controlled fury. If you wanted to help me, I said, you would have never touched her. Then I walked out. And in my car, I finally let myself shake. Not from cold. From the kind of shock that makes your body feel unsafe inside itself. I called Nina. She listened. Then she said, you're going to that dinner. I swallowed. I can't. Yes, you can, she said. And you will. Because that's where she's going to try to paint you. And you're going to do something that will drive her insane. What? I whispered. Nina's voice was calm. You're going to stay calm. You're going to record. And you're going to let her show everyone who she is. I stared at the road. My hands were still shaking. What if she humiliates me? I asked. Nina's tone sharpened. Then you let her, she said. Because humiliation with proof becomes leverage. I drove to Harper's school with a knot in my stomach. The gym was decorated with balloons and banners. Harper stood in a dress I'd never seen before, smiling bright like her whole world was pure. It broke something in me. Because no matter what Lena did to me, Harper didn't deserve to be collateral. Lena was already there. Perfect hair. Perfect smile. A hand on Harper's back like she was Mother of the Year. When Lena saw me, her eyes flickered. Not fear. Assessment. She walked toward me slowly, like we were a normal couple. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. I looked at her face and saw nothing of the woman I married. Just polish. Control. A performance. Harper hugged me tightly. "Dad," she whispered. "Please don't fight tonight." My throat tightened. "I won't," I whispered back. And I meant it. Because I wasn't going to fight. I was going to watch. The dinner began. Speeches. Awards. Applause. Harper's name was called. She walked up smiling, and everyone clapped. I clapped too, hands shaking. Then the principal called Lena and me to the front for a photo. Lena's hand slid into mine. It felt like a snake pretending to be warmth. We stood beside Harper. Cameras flashed. People smiled. And then, right as the principal adjusted the microphone, Lena leaned closer to my ear and whispered, "Don't embarrass me." I turned my head slightly. "What?" I whispered back. Lena's smile didn't change. "Because if you do," she whispered, "I'll tell them what you did." My blood went cold. "What I did?" I murmured. Lena's eyes flicked to the crowd. "Marissa," she whispered. "Your nothing messages." Then she added, softer. "And the money." My stomach dropped. I realized then she wasn't only threatening me. She was threatening my identity. My reputation. My ability to be Harper's father. Because if she painted me as a cheating husband and a thief, I'd lose everything that mattered. The principal started speaking again. Lena squeezed my hand like a warning. Then she stepped forward and took the microphone. Harper looked confused. "Mom," she whispered. Lena smiled at her. "Sweetheart," she said. "There's something I need to say." My heart pounded. I felt the room shift. Teachers leaned in. Parents quieted. I watched Harper's face, her smile fading slightly. Lena's voice was calm. "I just want to thank everyone for supporting Harper," she said. Then she turned her eyes toward me. "And I also want to thank Ethan," she added, sweet as sugar. "He's been trying." A ripple of soft laughter. Not full laughter. Just enough to sting. Lena continued. "And tonight," she said, "we're celebrating new beginnings." My stomach tightened. Harper's eyes widened. Lena placed a hand on her own stomach. And said, loud enough for the whole room, "We're having a baby." The room erupted. Gasps. Claps. Congratulations. Harper froze like she'd been slapped. Her face turned pale. She looked at Lena. Then at me. And in her eyes I saw something I'd never seen from my daughter before. Fear. Because she didn't know what to believe. She didn't know whose baby. She didn't know whether her family was real. Lena leaned toward Harper with a smile. "Isn't that exciting?" she asked. Harper's voice came out small. "Mom, what?" I saw it then. This wasn't an announcement. It was a weapon. A public stake in the ground. A way to trap me into reacting. If I yelled, I'd be the unstable husband ruining Harper's night. If I stayed silent, I'd look guilty. I felt my body want to explode. But Nina was right. So I did the one thing Lena didn't expect. I smiled. Not a happy smile. A calm smile. And I said, loud enough for the microphone to catch, "Congratulations." The room went quiet for half a beat. Because the tone didn't match the moment. Lena's smile tightened. Harper's eyes flicked to me, confused. Lena leaned close, teeth still smiling. "What are you doing?" she whispered. I whispered back, still smiling. "Letting you finish." Lena's eyes narrowed. She turned back to the crowd quickly, trying to regain control. "And," she said brightly, "there's one more thing." My stomach tightened. Because I knew whatever came next was the real knife. Lena's voice softened. "I know rumors happen," she said, glancing at me again. "And I know marriages are complicated." She sighed dramatically. "But I want to be honest." My blood went cold. Then she said it. "Ethan has been hiding things from our family." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Harper stiffened. Lena's eyes stayed on me. "Financial things," she said. "And messages." Harper's face turned. "Dad," she whispered. My heart cracked. And Lena's voice turned gentle, like she was comforting everyone. "I don't want to ruin Harper's night," she said, "but I think she deserves to know her father hasn't always been faithful." The room froze. Harper's face went white. My chest burned. I could feel my body wanting to jump, to shout, to defend myself. But if I did it now, I'd look like exactly what Lena wanted. So I raised my hand slightly, still calm, and said into the microphone, "Lena, My voice was steady. The whole room turned. Lena smiled. Yes? I looked at Harper. My voice softened. Sweetheart, I said, I'm not doing this here. Harper's eyes filled with tears instantly. Lena's smile sharpened. Oh, she said into the microphone, so now you don't want to talk? Then she turned to the crowd. You see, she said. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Some looked at me like I'd been exposed. And I realized in that moment, Lena wasn't just cheating. She was rewriting history in real time. I took a breath. Then I did something Lena hadn't planned for. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and placed it on the podium. Microphone still on. My voice stayed calm. Since we're being honest, I said, let's be honest. Lena's eyes widened slightly. Not fear. Calculation. I continued. Lena, before you accuse me publicly, you should probably explain why Caleb Ward has been transferring money out of our accounts. The room went dead silent. The principal's eyes widened. Teachers stared. Parents blinked. Harper's mouth opened. Caleb, she whispered. Lena's face changed for the first time. Not polished. Not smiling. A flicker of panic. Because I said the name out loud. I didn't stay in her script. I wrote my own line. Lena's voice was too quick. What are you talking about? I looked at the crowd. Still calm. I have the transfers, I said. Multiple. Then I looked back at Lena. And I have reason to believe you knew. Harper turned to her mother, shaking. Mom, what is he saying? Lena's eyes darted. And I saw it. A tiny crack. Because she didn't expect me to bring receipts. Not in public. Not in front of her audience. Then a man in the back of the room stood up. Tall. Gray suit. Familiar face. One of Harper's donors. A man I'd shaken hands with once at a charity event. He stared at Lena like he was seeing her for the first time. Mrs. Hale, he said slowly, Caleb Ward is your husband's best friend? Lena's lips parted. The man continued. And you're telling me, he said, voice tightening, that man has been pulling money out of your family accounts? The room started murmuring. Whispers building. Parents turning. Phones lifting. Lena's eyes flashed with fury. She leaned toward the microphone and hissed, Ethan, you're sick. I didn't react. I just looked at Harper. And said softly, sweetheart, I'm not perfect. Harper's tears fell. But I've never abandoned you, I said. And I'm not going to let anyone use you as a shield. Harper's face crumpled. And she ran off the stage. Lena's head snapped toward her. Harper. The principal stepped forward quickly, flustered. Okay, everyone, let's. But it was too late. The room was alive now. Because Lena's perfect family moment had turned into a public fracture. And her smile was gone. She glared at me like she wanted to kill me with her eyes. Then she leaned close, voice low. You think you won? She whispered. I met her eyes. I think you just forgot, I whispered back. People don't like being manipulated. Lena's face hardened. This isn't over, she whispered. Then she walked off the stage, heels clicking fast, chasing our daughter. And I stood there with a microphone in front of me, the whole room staring. And realized something terrifying. I didn't know what was true anymore. Not fully. Because I had proof Caleb stole. I had proof Lena knew. But I didn't know why. I didn't know how deep it went. And I didn't know what else they'd been hiding. That night, Harper wouldn't speak to me. She locked herself in her room at a friend's house. Lena wouldn't answer my calls. Caleb didn't respond. And by morning, the story was already spreading. Not on the news. But through the faster network. The one that ruins people quietly. Parents. Teachers. Board members. Text threads. Whispered summaries. And the version being told was exactly what Lena wanted. Ethan snapped. He accused his wife at their daughter's dinner. Something about money. He looked unstable. I sat in my office, staring at my phone, feeling like I was drowning. Then Nina called me. They filed, she said. My throat tightened. What? Lena filed for emergency custody, Nina said. And she included an affidavit. My chest tightened painfully. What does it say? Nina's voice was hard. She says you're controlling, she said. She says you're emotionally abusive. She says you're paranoid. And she says you have a history of obsessive jealousy? My mouth went dry. Based on what? Nina exhaled. Based on the narrative, she said. My hand shook. She's lying. Nina's voice stayed calm. She doesn't need the truth, she said. She needs a believable story. I swallowed. And the pregnancy? A pause. Nina lowered her voice. She claims it's yours. I felt my stomach drop. I couldn't speak. Nina continued. But there's something else. What? Nina's voice sharpened. She attached screenshots, she said. Of your messages with Marissa. My chest burned. And she attached banking logs, Nina added. Logs that show transfers from your login. I went cold. That's impossible. Nina's voice was grim. It's not impossible if someone had your passwords. My mind raced. Caleb. He knew my birthday. My mother's maiden name. My dog's name. Everything. We used to joke about how he could probably guess my passwords. I felt sick. Nina continued. And she included a statement from Caleb. My throat tightened. A statement? Nina's voice was flat. He swears you asked him to hold money for you, she said. He claims you were hiding assets. I stared at the wall. My vision blurred. My best friend wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was testifying against me. He was helping Lena frame me. I whispered, why? Nina didn't hesitate. Because he's protecting himself, she said. And because Lena has leverage. My hands trembled. What leverage? Nina paused. Then said the words that made my stomach twist. You need to prepare yourself, she said. Because I think Lena's affair wasn't the first betrayal in your house. My throat tightened. What do you mean? Nina exhaled. There are signs, she said. Paperwork. Patterns. Ethan. I need you to ask one hard question. I swallowed. What? Nina's voice was quiet. Are you sure Harper is yours? The room went silent around me. Like the world stopped for a second. I couldn't breathe. What? I whispered. Nina didn't soften. I'm not saying she isn't, she said. I'm saying Lena is ruthless right now. If she has anything that can break you, she will use it. I stared at my hands. Harper. My daughter. The girl I raised. The girl who called me dad. The girl whose scholarship dinner became a battlefield. I whispered, she's mine. But the truth is, I didn't know. Not because I had doubts about Harper. Because I had doubts about Lena. And once your spouse cheats, it poisons every memory. Even the ones that used to feel sacred. That day, Nina got a judge to order temporary arrangements. Harper stayed with Lena. I got supervised visits. Supervised. Like I was dangerous. Like I was a risk. My own daughter sat across from me at a community center while a stranger watched us talk. Harper didn't look at me. Her eyes were puffy. Her voice was hollow. Why did you do that? She whispered. My chest cracked. I didn't want to do it there, I said gently. You did it anyway, she snapped. Then her voice broke. Mom says you're trying to destroy her. I swallowed. Harper, I whispered, your mom is lying about some things. Harper's eyes filled. Dad, she whispered, I don't know who to believe. That sentence nearly killed me. Because it wasn't just about Lena anymore. It was about my daughter's trust. And trust, once cracked, never comes back the same. I looked at Harper and said the only honest thing. You don't have to believe anyone right now, I whispered. Just watch what people do. Harper sniffed. What do you mean? I swallowed hard. If someone loves you, I said softly, they don't use you to win. Harper's eyes flickered. And for a second, I saw something shift. A tiny crack in Lena's story. After the visit, I sat in my car and finally cried. Not dramatic sobbing. Just silent tears because my life felt like it was being erased. Then my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. If you want the truth, come alone. Tonight. 9:30, parking garage on 8th. No signature. No name. My stomach turned. It could be a trap. But something in me knew. The truth doesn't announce itself politely. It shows up messy. I called Nina. She said, don't go. I went anyway. Because I was desperate. Because I was tired of being written as the villain. Because if there was more beneath this, I needed to see it. The parking garage was half empty, echoing with distant traffic. My footsteps sounded too loud. I kept my hands visible. My phone recording. At 9:28, a figure stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. A woman. Mid-30s. Dark coat. Hair tied back. She looked nervous. Then she said my name. Ethan. I froze. Who are you? She swallowed. My name is Simone, she said. I work at the bank. My stomach tightened. What bank? The one your accounts are with, she said quickly. My heart hammered. Why are you here? Simone's voice shook. Because someone is using your login, she whispered. My skin went cold. Caleb. Simone hesitated. Then she said, yes. My jaw tightened. But he's not the only one, she whispered. My chest burned. Who else? Simone glanced around like she expected cameras. Then she said, your wife. I swallowed. She has access? I whispered. Simone nodded. She came in, she said, 3 months ago. She asked questions about how to authorize transfers. She asked about how to make it look like you initiated them. My stomach dropped. Why would you tell me this? I asked, voice tight. Simone's eyes filled. Because I watched you come in last week, she said. Confused. And I watched your wife smile while she said you were forgetful. Simone swallowed. My dad used to call that killing someone politely. The words chilled me. Simone pulled out an envelope. Take this, she whispered. What is it? Printouts, she said. Logs. Surveillance timestamps from the branch. My hands trembled as I took it. Simone stepped back. I shouldn't do this, she whispered. But I can't watch a man lose his child to a story that isn't true. Then she turned and walked away quickly, disappearing into the garage shadows. I stood there shaking, holding an envelope like it was oxygen. I drove straight to Nina. She opened the envelope, scanned the pages, then looked up at me with a cold focus. This, she said, changes everything. I swallowed. What does it prove? Nina tapped the logs. It proves Lena accessed your accounts, she said. And it proves Caleb did too. And it proves, Nina added, voice sharpening, they coordinated. My stomach twisted. So the affair? Nina's eyes narrowed. The affair was real, she said. But it wasn't the only purpose. She leaned forward. Ethan, they've been moving money, she said. And now they're trying to blame it on you. My chest burned. So they cheated, and robbed me, and framed me, I whispered. Nina nodded. Welcome to the full betrayal, she said. Then she added, quiet. But you still don't know the worst part. My throat tightened. What's the worst part? Nina stared at me. The pregnancy, she said. Because if Lena's pregnant, and she's telling court it's yours. Nina paused. Then she's tying you to her for the next 18 years. My stomach flipped. I whispered, what if it's not mine? Nina's eyes didn't blink. Then she's lying in a way that will destroy Harper when the truth comes out, she said. And if it is yours? Nina leaned in. Then she cheated anyway, she said. And she's using the baby like an anchor. I felt sick. I sat back. The room spun. Because no matter what, Lena had found a way to trap me. That night, Nina filed motions. Subpoenas. Requests. She moved fast. And for the first time since the kitchen ambush, I felt something besides panic. I felt control. But control doesn't erase pain. Because the next day, I got a voicemail. From Harper. Her voice was small. Dad? Mom says you're trying to take me away from her. A pause. Then she whispered. Are you? My throat closed. Because I didn't want to take Harper away from her mother. I wanted Harper away from manipulation. I wanted her away from being used like a chess piece. I called Harper back. She didn't answer. Then Lena texted me. Stop poisoning her against me. Poisoning. The word made me shake. Because Lena was the one pouring poison into our daughter every day. That's when I realized something else. If I wanted to win this, I couldn't just prove Lena cheated and stole. I had to break the narrative in Harper's mind. Because court can give you time. But it can't give you trust. Weeks passed. The case moved like a slow knife. Harper stayed distant. Lena played victim perfectly. Caleb vanished. And the pregnancy became a headline in our own lives. Lena posted a soft photo on social media. A tiny pair of baby shoes in her palm. Caption. New beginnings. People commented hearts. Friends congratulated her. Some even messaged me. Be supportive. Don't be bitter. Like I was supposed to clap while my life burned. Then, one afternoon, I got a call. Unknown number. I answered. A man's voice. Older. Rough. Ethan Hale? Yes. This is Robert Ward, the man said. My stomach tightened. Caleb's father. What do you want? A pause. Then the man said something that stunned me. I want you to know I didn't raise my son to be this, he said. My throat tightened. Then where is he? I snapped. Robert Ward exhaled. I don't know, he said. Then he added, but I know why he did it. My skin went cold. Why? Robert's voice was heavy. He owes people, he said. Bad people. My stomach twisted. Like who? Robert hesitated. Then said the name. A man named Victor Sandoval. The name meant nothing to me. But Nina did a quick search while I stayed on speaker. Her eyes widened. She mouthed. Fraud. Debt. Shell companies. My stomach dropped. Robert Ward continued. Caleb got mixed up with him, he said. Business loans. Promises. And then he couldn't pay. My throat tightened. And Lena? A long pause. Robert's voice lowered. Your wife met Victor 6 months ago, he whispered. My blood went cold. How do you know that? Robert swallowed. Because Victor bragged about it, he said. I felt sick. Bragged. Robert's voice cracked slightly. He said your wife was smart, he whispered. He said she was willing to do what needed to be done. My hands trembled. Nina leaned closer, listening hard. Robert continued. He said the plan was to make you the fall guy. The room went silent. My whole body chilled. The plan? I whispered. Robert's voice was heavy. The plan, he repeated. To move money through your accounts, he said. To drain what they could. To blame you. And to keep you quiet by threatening your relationship with your daughter. I closed my eyes. Because the betrayal just got bigger. This wasn't just a messy affair. This was a coordinated theft wrapped in emotional warfare. And my wife was part of it. Nina took the phone from me. Mr. Ward, she said calmly, can you provide anything concrete? Robert hesitated. Then said, I can give you Caleb's old storage unit number. Nina's eyes sharpened. Where is it? Robert gave the address. Then he hung up. Nina looked at me. We're going, she said. That night, we went to the storage facility with a court order. Metal doors. Fluorescent lights. Cold air. The manager unlocked the unit. The door rolled up with a squeal. And inside? Was Caleb's life. Boxes. A chair. A cheap desk. And a laptop bag. Nina pointed. Open it. My hands shook as I unzipped it. Inside was a laptop. 2 external drives. And a folder. A real folder, paper, labeled in Caleb's handwriting. Hale. My stomach turned. I opened it. Inside were printouts. Screenshots. Timelines. A plan. Lena's name all over it. Victor Sandoval's name. Accounts. Amounts. And then a page titled, Custody Narrative. I felt sick. It was bullet points. Ethan is controlling. Ethan is obsessive. Ethan has history of emotional cheating. Trigger him in public. Record reaction. Protect Harper from him. My body shook. This wasn't a relationship falling apart. This was premeditated. I flipped another page. And found the sentence that made me feel like my heart stopped. Pregnancy announcement, public, force response. Nina's face went pale. I whispered, she used the baby. Nina's voice was low. Or she used the claim, she said. My hands trembled as I kept flipping. And then I saw it. A DNA test kit receipt. Purchased 2 weeks before the dinner. My mouth went dry. Nina leaned in. The receipt had Lena's email. Not mine. Nina whispered, she already tested. My chest tightened. Tested what? Nina's eyes lifted to mine slowly. Paternity, she said. My whole body went cold. Because if Lena already tested, then she already knew whether the baby was mine. And she still told the world it was. Which meant she was willing to lie at a level that could destroy Harper's sense of reality permanently. I leaned against the storage unit wall, dizzy. Nina's voice was sharp. Ethan, she said, we need that result. I swallowed. How? Nina's eyes narrowed. We find where she sent it, she said. Or we force disclosure in court. Then she looked at me. And we make sure Harper hears the truth from you first. That part terrified me more than court. Because Harper already didn't trust me. And telling her something like this? Could break her. But not telling her would let Lena's story win. A week later, court day arrived. Lena walked in looking perfect. Soft sweater. Minimal makeup. The face of a woman, trying her best. Caleb wasn't there. His attorney said he was unreachable. Unreachable. Like a ghost. Like a coward. Lena sat across from me and didn't look at me. She held her stomach gently like she was protecting the world's innocence. The judge listened. Lena's lawyer spoke about instability. About erratic accusations. About public outbursts. Then Nina stood. And calmly laid evidence on the table like bricks. Bank logs. Surveillance timestamps. Storage unit documents. The custody narrative plan. The judge's face shifted. Lena's smile faltered slightly. Then Nina said, we request the paternity results already obtained by Mrs. Hale. Lena's head snapped up. What? She blurted. The judge raised a hand. Mrs. Hale, he said, have you already conducted a paternity test? Lena swallowed. Her eyes darted. Her lawyer leaned close, whispering. Lena's face tightened. Then she said, voice sweet, I don't understand. The judge's eyes hardened. This is a yes or no question, he said. Lena's lips pressed together. And for the first time in months, my wife looked scared. She whispered, yes. A murmur ran through the room. The judge leaned forward. And what were the results? Lena's eyes darted again. Her voice trembled slightly. Nina's tone was sharp. Mrs. Hale, she said, you announced publicly that the child was Mr. Hale's. Is that true? Lena's face went white. She looked at me for the first time. And her eyes weren't angry. They were pleading. Like she wanted me to save her. Like after all this, she still thought I was her safety net. I didn't move. The judge's voice turned colder. "Mrs. Hale," he said, "answer." Lena's lips parted. And then she whispered the truth. "No," she said. "No, it's not his." The room froze. My chest tightened so hard I thought I'd collapse. Not because I wanted the baby to be mine, but because I imagined Harper hearing that her mother lied publicly about something this big. The judge's face hardened. "So you lied," he said. Lena started crying instantly. Real tears. Or maybe just smarter performance. "I was scared," she sobbed. "I didn't know how to." Nina didn't let her finish. "You were scared," Nina said, "so you framed him." Lena shook her head violently. "I didn't frame him," she cried. "I was trying to protect myself." The judge's voice cut through. "From what?" he asked. Lena's eyes darted. And in that moment, I realized what her tears were really saying. She wasn't sorry. She was cornered. Nina slid another document forward. "The child's father," Nina said calmly, "is Caleb Ward." Lena's head snapped. "No," she tried. But Nina already had it. The test. The match. Caleb. My best friend. My wife's baby. The betrayal became official in black ink. The judge stared at Lena like she was a stranger. Lena sobbed harder. And all I could think was, Harper. My daughter. My child. Who was outside these walls, about to have her entire reality shattered because her mother turned life into a game. The judge made rulings. Temporary custody shifted. Supervised visits for Lena now. Not for me. For her. Harper came to stay with me that night. She stood in my living room like she didn't recognize it. Her hands shook. Her eyes were red. She whispered, "Is it true?" I swallowed. "Yes," I said softly. Harper's face crumpled. "My whole life," she started. Then she stopped, choking. Was she lying the whole time? That question hurt more than anything Lena ever did to me. Because I couldn't answer it with certainty. I sat on the couch slowly. "Harper," I whispered, "your mom loved you." Harper's laugh was broken. "Loved me," she snapped. "She used me." Her voice cracked. "She used my dinner." She wiped her face hard. "She used my scholarship." She looked at me, eyes wild. "And she used you." I nodded. "Yes," I whispered. Harper shook. Then she whispered, so small it barely existed. "Did you ever cheat?" My throat tightened. Because this was the question that would decide whether Harper trusted me. I swallowed. "I didn't sleep with anyone," I said honestly. "But," I added, voice breaking, "I texted someone I shouldn't have." Harper's eyes filled. "Why?" I stared at the floor. "Because I was weak," I whispered. "And because I wanted to feel seen." Harper stared at me. Then whispered, "So you did betray her?" I nodded. "Yes," I said. Harper's tears fell again. And she whispered the sentence that will haunt me forever. "Then maybe you both ruined us." And the truth is, I didn't have a clever comeback. Because sometimes, kids say the most honest thing in the room. Over the next months, the fallout came in waves. Caleb was arrested. Not just for stealing from me. For fraud linked to Victor Sandoval. Turns out my accounts weren't the only ones. There were others. Other families. Other friends. Victor disappeared for a while, then got picked up at an airport. Lena lost everything she cared about publicly. Not because people suddenly became moral. But because people hate being fooled. Her friends vanished. Her support evaporated. She became a cautionary story whispered in PDA parking lots. And Lena, the woman who once weaponized silence, now begged for a conversation. She showed up at my door one rainy evening, hair messy, eyes hollow. No polish. No perfect sweater. Just a woman who finally looked like consequences. "I need to talk to Harper," she whispered. Harper heard her voice from the hallway. She stepped out slowly. Stared at her mother. Lena's eyes filled. "Baby," she cried softly. "Please." Harper's voice was cold. "Don't call me that," she said. Lena flinched. Harper stepped closer, shaking with anger. "Did you ever think about me?" Harper whispered. Lena sobbed. "I did," she said. "I was just." Harper cut her off. "No," she said. "You thought about winning." Lena's face collapsed. Harper's voice shook. "You lied to everyone about Dad," she whispered. "You lied about the baby. You lied in public." Harper's tears fell again. "And you smiled while you did it." Lena sank to her knees. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry." Harper stared down at her. And for a moment, I saw the little girl in her fighting to love her mother. Because children always want their parents to be good. Even when they're not. Harper's voice cracked. "Do you even know what you did to me?" she whispered. Lena nodded, sobbing. Yes, she whispered. And I can't fix it. Harper stepped back. Then she said something I will never forget. I don't hate you, she whispered. Lena looked up, hopeful for half a second. Harper finished. I just don't trust you. That was worse than hate. Because hate is loud. Trust is a foundation. And Lena had shattered it. Lena left in the rain. And I watched my daughter stand in the doorway shaking, trying to hold herself together. I wrapped my arms around her. And she leaned into me like she was exhausted from surviving. Months later, Harper started therapy. So did I. Not because we wanted to heal quickly. But because the kind of betrayal we lived through doesn't disappear. It changes shape. Some days Harper would laugh like normal. Then she'd freeze at the sound of my phone vibrating. Some days she'd call her mother and hang up before Lena answered. Some days she'd sit at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, and whisper, "Was any of it real?" And I never lied to her. I said, some of it was. And some of it wasn't. Because the hardest truth is this. A person can love you and still betray you. They can hold you and hurt you. They can say, family, and mean, control. And the worst part? Sometimes the person they betray isn't even you. Sometimes they betray the version of themselves they needed to be to keep everyone impressed. Lena eventually took a plea deal on financial charges tied to Victor's operation. Not because she masterminded everything. But because she participated. Because she benefited. Because she thought she could steer the story and stay clean. She couldn't. She wrote a letter to Harper. Harper didn't open it for weeks. When she finally did, she read it in silence, then folded it carefully like it was fragile. She didn't cry. She just stared out the window. And whispered, she still sounds like she's performing. And maybe that was the final betrayal. Not the cheating. Not the money. Not even the pregnancy lie. But the fact that my wife couldn't stop being a character in her own story. Even when the story had already destroyed her child. A year later, Harper got another scholarship. Different program. Different city. She moved into a small apartment near campus. I helped her carry boxes up the stairs. She looked older than she should. But stronger too. Before I left, she hugged me, tight. And whispered, "Thank you for telling the truth, even when it made you look bad." My throat tightened. "I owed you the truth," I whispered. Harper nodded. Then she said something that stayed with me. "You know what's scary?" she asked. "What?" Harper looked down at her hands. "It's not that Mom cheated," she whispered. "It's that she could smile while destroying people." I swallowed. "Yeah," I whispered. Harper's voice dropped. "And it's scary because?" She looked up at me. "It means anyone can do it." I hugged her again. And I realized the story didn't end with a villain getting punished. It ended with a daughter learning a lesson no kid should have to learn. That love without honesty is just a trap with pretty words. Now, here's the question I can't stop thinking about. If you were me, if your spouse cheated, stole, lied, and tried to turn your own child against you, but you also knew you weren't perfectly innocent, because you had your own emotional betrayal buried in the past, would you fight to rebuild anything? Or would you walk away forever, even if it means your child grows up with a permanent hole where a family used to be? If you made it this far, thank you, especially to everyone who keeps coming back to this channel. If this was your first story here, consider subscribing for more stories like this. And let me ask you this. Would you forgive a betrayal like this, or would you walk away for good? Leave your thoughts in the comments.